This podcast is part of the Big Heads Media Podcast Network. Go to bigheadsmedia.com for more great podcasts.
And now, on with the show.
Hey everyone, welcome to
We're Watching Here.
This is Opinionated Movie Talk with Chris and Perry. My name is Chris Williams. With me, he is the Donder to my Blitzen, Perry Seibert. How are you doing today, Perry?
I was all set to be the Maria to your Tony.
You might have been the Venus to my Serena.
That would have worked too.
But no, it's Christmas. This is coming out the week of Christmas. It is a happy Christmas episode. How are you doing this Christmas season, Perry?
We are happy and festive and fun and family filled and feeling very fortunate. Hope everybody out there is feeling the same way.
We are the same. We are, this is released. My kids are off school. I will be off work for a few weeks. And it is releasing this episode on December 23rd. So I would like to wish a happy Festivus to all who celebrate. Please head to iTunes, leave us a comment. Let us know all the ways in which we have disappointed you this past year. Air your grievances on Festivus, please. Or you can just give us a positive review, and I would be very happy with that too. But either way,
wait and see what we say about these movies.
That's
Maybe
right.
We're going to swing you one way or the other.
That's right. Happy holidays to everyone, regardless of what you're celebrating. Have a great one, and let's get into some movie talk. We are continuing our series of what we've been watching recently, kind of wrapping up the year of 2021, and we're going to start today with a release that I did not see in theaters. I saw on HBO Max. It is King Richard, starring Will Smith as Richard Williams, who is the father of Venus and Serena Williams, and his plan to get his daughters to be the best tennis players in the world. Perry, I'll start by asking you a question. What did you think of King Richard?
So there's a lot to unpack here for me. I'm a tennis fan. I like tennis a lot. It's the only sport I ever played at any level of public acceptability. And so I watched tennis, and I watched tennis a lot in this era. So I remember this well. And what I was left with at the end of it is, let's split this up for the good and the bad. On the plus side, and I can't remember the last time I've said this about a movie, Chris. What's this movie clock in at? 220? 225?
Yep.
It feels like 90 minutes. This is a marvelously paced and edited movie. This just flows. This is like when you read like a 400-page book and it feels like it took you an hour to do it. When the writing is just so crisp and on point and the characters pop and it just plays. It's a hugely entertaining movie. So full credit for that. My problem is in the focus here. So Venus and Serena are producers on this.
Yes.
They signed off on this. I don't know how hands-on they were, but they officially signed off on this. And for me, I think you could present this film exactly as is and give it the much better title of The Williams Show, which would have had this wonderful double meaning, because that's, of course, what Richard called it when the Williams sisters first started playing, when Venus started playing and when Serena joined her. And also, it gives you this idea that this is the Williams sisters showing you what their life was like, because this film runs into the weird problem of dealing with stuff that it probably shouldn't more than it should and not enough. Not as much as it should at the same time. There is, I don't think they explore aspects of Richard Williams that they really could have. I think that because they want to tell this very specific story, and they do, and they tell it well. As a fictional work, it's not necessarily a problem, but it's a problem if you really want this story as honestly as you feel like they're intending it to be. There's a lot of Richard's past that if they just not dealt with it at all would have made for an even tighter movie. Not that this film needs to be tightened, as I said, but they deal with it just enough that you wish they would deal with it more. They don't shy away from making him difficult to like, but they do shy away from the things that might make him really unlikable. and that's an uncomfortable point for it to hit. And also would love more of their mother in the movie. It's so much about the family, so let's deal with the family. I just think the focus of the film keeps it from being as good as it could be, and it's really, really good.
Yeah, I'd agree. I enjoyed this. It is one of those movies. I put it on at like 9:00 on a night where I knew I had to work the next day. And I was like, okay, the way this is going to go is I'm going to watch about an hour of this. I'll turn it off. I'll pick it up tomorrow. I watched the whole thing in one sit because it is immensely watchable. It's funny. I'm a sucker for a sports movie, which is weird because I don't like sports that much, but I love a good sports movie. And I think it's very watchable. It hits all the beats it needs to hit to keep you invested. There are little nagging things that cropped up after. I mean, it ended and I was like, oh, this is one of the best movies I've seen all year, because that's how you feel watching it. Like it's so entertaining and so watchable that you end it and you're like, that movie is great. And then you start thinking, hey, wait, that scene with the gun was really weird, and we don't come back to that.
That's true.
And
that one's true. that one I don't have a problem with. Okay.
But I was like, no, we're not going to unpack that. I do think it does leave stuff on the table that it could discuss. It is the story they chose to tell. And I think I agree with you. There's a better story they could have probably told. I like the one they told.
Very much so.
I like the fact that it is a movie that, yes, it is filtered through a traditional sports story, but it's a movie about parenting and how you want the best for your kids, but also you want them to be okay when they achieve their best, right? Like you want them to be well adjusted.
Yes.
And that is that's a commitment that Richard and his wife makes. And I like that aspect. I found that to be a very touching and, just a very touching aspect of that. I feel like, if they had shifted the focus a little bit to spread out the love, you're going to have a more well-rounded, balanced movie. I feel some of the characters get a little lost. There's a weird balance where there's a focus on one Williams sister and then another one, kind of gets more of the attention in the back half, but that might just be the way life kind of shaped out. But what I really loved was the performances in this. Like that's what entertained me all through. We can talk about Will Smith. I've seen a lot of people say Will Smith disappears into this role, which I don't agree with. I don't think Will Smith has ever disappeared into any role. But I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think, and I see you're trying to figure it out, and I don't know what I would say he disappeared into. Maybe Ali, but that's been years. But Muhammad Ali is
he tried, and it's not that he disappeared. Well, I want to be real clear for my definition of disappeared for this. I don't mean physically.
Mm-hmm.
I mean where the only film that I can think of that truly reworked what he does really well was 6 Degrees of Separation. I think that's a very good performance, and that is at a very different tenor than everything else in his arsenal. And not that he disappears, but it used his remarkable charm in a way no other film has. And boy, could he return to something like that and be fantastic.
Yeah. I liked him in this. I think there's a really fine line that Richard Williams walks where, like you said, he can be extremely unlikable, and they don't shy away from the fact that he was abrasive, right? But I think there is a charisma and a passion that Will Smith brings that kind of already puts you on his side. You're willing to go with him because it's Will Smith and you're inclined to like him. There is a weird habit that Will Smith has of being in movies where he plays a character who is risking his entire future on the success of his kids. And I don't know what to make of that, but I liked him in this, not as much as I like John Bernthal, who is just so much fun. It's nice to see him smile a little bit.
I don't know how this meathead looking Goomba dude became such a good actor, but boy has he. I can't think of anybody else who's managed to do that in such a low key way. Like there are actors who've managed to pull that off. Channing Tatum's managed to pull this off. Mm-hmm. Channing Tatum has gone from being, this slab of meat into being a really interesting performer. But he became a star doing that. And Bernthal remains just this sort of character guy.
Yeah.
And it's fabulous.
And this role is
he's super entertaining here.
Yeah, and he usually has a type he plays, and this is not it.
No,
he is so much fun. The young women they have playing Venus and Serena, I don't feel they're getting enough credit because they have to look like Venus and Serena on the court in the way they play, and that is hard. Like tennis is.
So if you're paying close attention, I agree. The tennis is excellent. And I have this theory that tennis is actually a spectacular sport to film because on TV, we're really only ever used to seeing it from one angle. So all you have to do is introduce any other angle and you feel like you're seeing tennis the way you've never seen it before. And that's really easy to play with. Mm-hmm. And it's also one of those sports like baseball. Baseball has this problem a lot of times. If you like the sport at all, and I don't think you need to be overly familiar with it. I mean, if you like it at all and know even a little of it, you can tell if people know how to play baseball. You can tell if people know how to play tennis. Yes. And this film does a spectacular job of making you think that both of those young women are mm-hmm. playing at a professional level. No one looks bad out there. And I don't know if that's them. I don't know if that's, really good special effects. Like I remember a lot of talk about when the Battle of the Sexes movie a couple years ago, they just morphed Steve Carell's face onto footage in order to make it look like he's really funny. And they might have done a lot of that here too. I don't know. I'm not interested in digging in. The point is it plays beautifully while you're watching.
Yes, it does. Yeah. So that's King Richard. Do you have anything else on that? Or
the only thing I'd want to add, if you find yourself engaged in culture wars, I would point out to you that if someone really likes this film, if they ever go on a rant about helicopter parenting, you should bring up their love for this movie. Because this is a love letter to helicopter parenting, if ever there was one.
Yeah. Yeah. I had that thought a few times.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Perry, you're going to move us on from the tennis courts to the streets of New York in 1950s. And maybe with a little dancing in there. Why don't you talk about West Side a little bit?
Let's talk about West Side Story. So we've talked about Spielberg a bunch. My reservations about the man's work. Mm-hmm. I was excited for this the second it was announced. I thought this was a brilliant idea to do West Side Story now. Remember, this was supposed to come out last year, and with this coming out at the height of, or when we were thicker in Trump world, it would have meant a lot more politically. It still lands, but it's interesting. It's a year later. I think it actually kind of helps the film that it's a year later on that point. And here's the thing about Steven Spielberg's West Side Story. I don't think it's Steven Spielberg's West Side Story. I think it's Tony Kushner's West Side Story. Tony Kushner, who this is the third film he's done with Spielberg, of course, the amazing playwright, the creator of Angels in America. And he's never made close to a bad film with Spielberg. He's responsible for the scripts for Munich and for Lincoln and this. And what I loved about this is the way Kushner treats it like what it is, a play. He has figured out how to put some modern material into it without sacrificing what it is. He updates it in really smart and interesting ways that will upset purists, as new productions of old theater pieces do. That's the tradition Kushner comes from. And that's not something that we do with remakes, generally speaking, in film. They are usually just cosmetic updates to old things. They very rarely try to make the plot, make the themes work in ways that would have worked then and play now. And I think that's fascinating. It worked for me. I'm agreeing it might not work for everybody, but I enjoyed every one of those new sort of almost every one of those new wrinkles that Kushner brings to it. That said, what I love about what Spielberg does in the movie is, if you're familiar with the original film of West Side Story, it's very stagey. It is a film that, if you are not used to seeing films from the 50s or early 60s, I can't imagine what it's like seeing it, just because I know it so well. I can't imagine coming across it now at this point in the culture. But he makes this feel like it's both that it's shot on a soundstage, which it obviously is, and at the same time, it feels modern. It doesn't feel indebted to looking like it came from the mid 50s or early 60s. I was reminded of how much I loathe the early sequences in War Horse, a film I like for the most part from Spielberg, where, the shots of the home are direct lifts from John Ford's How Green Was My Valley. And Spielberg has a habit of doing that just to do it. He's not using it for his own purposes. He's like, oh, this is the film I'm thinking about now. And this film, he's obviously thinking about West Side Story, so he doesn't feel the need to recreate it. He recreates its style, but makes it very much his own, putting a very modern spin on how it looks, while being faithful to the time period and to the intention of the original film. So as a work of interpretation, I really love it. I think it's a really fascinating way to pay, to pay absolute respect to the source material. They don't touch the music, Chris. Other than a few new lyrics, there are new lyrics that Sondheim actually did contribute, to give it just maybe some nips and tucks here and there. But it is, they're not going to touch that music, nor should you. It's about perfect, and it's really entertaining. Is that the performances are across the board, rock solid. Wonderful work from this new generation of Maria. Maria is a very difficult part because you basically have to sing an opera. It's a really hard part. There's a reason there's not a lot of high school productions of West Side Story, Chris. People aren't that talented at that age. It's hard to find people who can sing that well. She's fabulous, both as a singer and in the dramatic scenes. This played for me. I really enjoyed this. I have any comprehension of how it will play for anybody else.
Okay. I am being really quiet on this one because I have not seen West Side Story. I have tickets reserved as we're recording this to go see it with my wife Saturday afternoon on IMAX. So by the time this comes out, I will have seen it.
That's a good format for this. But I will say that's a good format for this.
I'm really excited about this. I love Spielberg. I'm unapologetic about that. And it's been a long time since I've seen West Side Story, the original movie. It's been about 6 years. And I think that might have been my only time seeing it. I saw it at the Redford Theater, which is a repertory house around here, shortly after we moved into the neighborhood. And you can't really beat it because they did an intermission at the middle of the film, and Rita Moreno was there and came out and talked about West Side Story, which was really great. It was a great experience. But I don't remember hardly anything about the movie. So I feel like I'm going in kind of pure on this, where I'm not going to have a ton to compare it to. It was just never, I think its length was something why I've never gone back and revisited. It's about 3 hours. And, but I do remember
this is shorter.
How is the dancing though? Because I remember that was the thing that I loved about the movie, was it was a dance movie.
Like the music and like the look of the film, they stay very true to Jerome Robbins' original choreography.
Okay.
But they add stuff. Like they give it their take on this. It is not a revolutionary West Side Story. They are not trying to rebuild this from the ground up. They are just bringing a more modern sensibility to it in the best possible ways. It's worth it. It's not the greatest dance film ever made. I don't think the original West Side Story is either.
Well, Singing in the Rain is right there.
Singing in the Rain is tough to beat. But it is, and I'm sure it's dancing that actually works better on stage than on screen. That's part of it. But this ain't hard to watch, Chris.
I cannot wait.
It's pretty enjoyable.
How is Ansel Elgort though? He is my one reservation heading into it.
So I don't dislike him. I'm not saying he's the world's greatest actor. He obviously has some issues, but I really love Baby Driver, and I've seen Baby Driver a lot. And you know what? He's good in Baby Driver. I don't care. He's very good in Baby Driver, and he's very good. I think he's very good here too. Okay. I'm not talking about awards worthy or anything, but every time you think can he act, you're like, yeah, he can. He can shade. He can bring different emotions to a scene, playing different emotions at the same time. He's perfectly capable, and he's got the perfect look for exactly what Spielberg and Kushner are doing. He looks like he could have been the lead in the film in 1961, and yet he looks modern. All of it plays into this. This was the overriding decision for every artistic choice they make. Could this have been how it played in the original film? Yeah, but is it now? Yeah, and it plays like that throughout. I liked it, and I like him. I like Maria more.
I'm really looking forward to this, and it's crazy as I've been looking at my list. Like, this is a big year for musicals. I can't remember when we've had this many musicals out in one year in recent years.
Certainly, big time,
yeah. I mean, like, you consider Tick Tick Boom, In the Heights. You could have a Disney movie. There was Dear Evan Hansen, which I never got around to, and
me either.
Feel like maybe I dodged a bullet there, but I know Cyrano is still coming out, and even if I fudge, I'm considering fudging when I do my list and maybe including even Bo Burnham's Inside. It's a fantastic year for musicals. Like, I'm so happy. I love musicals. So
it would be a fantastic year for musicals if just Tick Tick Boom had come out.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. West Side Story. I am so excited about that.
I am eager to talk with you about it after you see it.
Awesome. Well, we're going to move over to Netflix now, from IMAX to Netflix. I'm going to talk about a new Netflix show. Perry, I think I've been already bugging you about watching this show because I feel like this is a show that would be right up your alley. And I feel like it's going to be up very few people's alleys unless they are movie nerds. So this is Voir, the new series produced by David Fincher. This is a 6-episode series. I've seen the first 3, and I don't even know if calling them episodes is really accurate. They bills themselves as visual essays on the love of film. And every episode features a critic talking about something they love about movies. And so the first episode is Sasha Stone, and she's talking about the summer of 1975 when she was a teenager, and she saw Jaws 40 times in theaters. And it's just this essay about how the movies got her through that period of her life, which was kind of rough. But then it moves over into episode 2, which is, I'm blanking on the critic's name here. Hold on. Okay, then it moves into episode 2, which is critic Tony Zhao, and he's talking about Park Chan-wook's movie Lady Vengeance, and how that helped him unpack the whole rhythm of revenge films and why we're drawn to them and what the rules of the revenge movies are. And so that's fascinating. And then the third episode features one of my favorite critics, Drew McWeeny, who I've been watching, or I've been reading for years, since he was Moriarty on Ain't It Cool News. And he has a great newsletter, 2 great newsletters out right now that I follow. And he talks about Lawrence of Arabia and how he loves that movie. It's his favorite movie, even if the main character is unlikable. And it's an episode about unlikable protagonists and why we're drawn to them, why we need them. Perry, I think this is one you would get a huge kick out of because it spends a ton of time talking about Scorsese movies.
Of course.
And it's just, these are, 20-minute essays. They're not long. And I love it. I'm really intrigued by the possibilities of using video for film criticism. I think there are a lot of great essayists out there right now. Patrick H. Willems is one of them. He does some really great video essays that, they use the medium to comment on it. And I think that's a fascinating approach. And these are all really slickly produced. Some of them have reenactments. The Sasha Stone one is really fantastic because there are times I could not tell whether I was watching a shot from Jaws or whether that was the recreation of her life at that time. They mimic the blocking and everything so exactly in some things. It's fantastic. Other times it's just, you're having a narrator and you're watching clips of great movies, and I can't see anything wrong with that. So yeah, this is I can't wait to watch the next three. I'm enjoying this. Have you watched any of this? I'm assuming you've heard of it.
You are the only person who was talking to me about this. I had no idea what you were talking about the first time you texted me about this. I'm about to watch VAR. And I was like, I have no idea what this is. And then looked up a little about what it was. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to get to this eventually. Like, it wasn't like I got to watch this right now, but I have a feeling this is going to be one of those things where I'm going to wake up at like 4 a.m. one day and I'll realize I'm up. Yeah, I'm not going to sleep anytime soon. Yep, time to burn through all 6 episodes of this. We're just gonna sit and just enjoy this time that we didn't expect to have, and I feel like that's what's gonna happen with this for me. I'm looking forward to it.
It's a nice middle ground because you have on one end there's something like, and I don't think it's on Netflix anymore. It might be on Amazon now. Have you ever watched The Story of Film that Mark Cousins did?
No.
Okay, he's a European critic, and I think it's like a 10-part history of cinema, history of world cinema miniseries. There's a book that accompanies it, and it's really in depth, and it's really fascinating. The episodes are all fantastic, but they're all about 2.5 hours long.
Yeah.
And that one, I mean, that's a Ken
Burns approach.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay.
And it's fantastic. I recommend it. I don't think I made it through the entire thing because they are so long, but I will one day. You have that on one end of the spectrum, which is this really deep dive. A few years ago, some people recommended The Movies That Made Us on Netflix.
I couldn't get through that.
No, it was the most. It reminded me of a VH1 I Love the 90s thing, and it just bounced off me. And I knew everything they were already talking about. Yeah. They never seemed to get to people I wanted them to talk to. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, I can see why people who like going to the movies but don't love movies enjoy this, right?
Yes.
This is a nice middle ground. This is for people who love going to the movies, who love film. And these are all critics I respect. I know Walter Chaw has a episode near the end of it that I'm really excited to watch. So these are solid critics. The cinematography is great. David Fincher is, of course, he loves film. So he's got that seal of approval. This is great viewing for about an audience of 10. And I'm glad Netflix did it. This is, every once in a while Netflix makes a play where I'm like, oh, they do respect movies, right? Like they get behind the Irish. They, before Criterion had that thing where they released Albert Brooks movies, Netflix did that. They had all of Albert Brooks's movies up for a bit. Yep. So every once in a while they'll convince me, oh yeah, we still love movies, but we're also going to give you Tiger King season 2. And, I'll take a Tiger King season 2 if it means we get stuff like VAR. Or, depending on how you feel about it, the film you're about to discuss next.
Indeed. Jane Campion made her first film in, oh my gosh, close to 15 years since Bright Star?
12 years.
12 years? 12? I mean, Top of the Lake comes in between that, I know, but that was the movie. Jane Campion has a new film called Power of the Dog, an adaptation of a beloved cult novel that is her. In many ways, it is her returning to the piano. It is the flip side of that coin. They're not the same movie, but they're kind of related. You can see they make a great double bill of Jane Campion's work. Not that you couldn't pick any two Jane Campion films and have a great double bill. I'm a fan of the woman's work. This film stars Benedict Cumberbatch and Jesse Plemons as brothers in, I forget which Western state. In 1925, they run a ranch. Jesse Plemons' character is, I don't want to say he's sort of the recessive of the two. I don't want to imply he's the weak one of the two. But Benedict Cumberbatch plays the brother who is much more physically imposing, more brutal. On their most recent cattle drive, they stop along the way. They make plans to stay at a particular place where they have dinner. Jesse Plemons' character falls in love with the woman who runs the place, played by Kirsten Dunst. She has a seemingly an older teenage son, played by an actor named Cody Smith McPhee. And basically what you have is a 2-hour sort of classic Jane Campion hothouse fever dream of emotional power and emotional manipulation and a constant undercurrent of sex, sexual need and sexual longing and sexual desire, and all leading to an ending that shouldn't be discussed until you've seen the movie. Not that it's a twist, just that this is a film that leads to something, and discussing it is a very very bad decision. I liked this a bunch. Granted, as I said before, I'm prone to Jane Campion style. I like what she does. Even her worst films, and there are bad films in there, have stuff in them I really like. And this is a good one. It's really solid. It's got a very solid story to tell. Can it be faulted for being overly long? Yes, it could. But at the same time, it's a problem of deciding to pace the whole film that way. It's not like it drags after an hour.
Yeah,
this is a conscious, decision to make with the tempo of the entire movie. And I responded to it, and I locked into it, and I enjoyed it a bunch. Benedict Cumberbatch is fantastic, playing a part I've never quite seen him play. He's really good. Jesse Plemons, as we've talked about many times, very good. Again, more than happy to underplay throughout most of it. Kirsten Dunst does not get the credit for being the incredibly brave actress she has been now for 20 years. I don't know what she can't do.
Yeah.
And she constantly challenges herself. She works with great people, and she takes difficult parts and she plays them beautifully. And Cody Smith McPhee might give my best supporting performance of the year in anything. He's really good as the son. It's a chamber drama. It is a hothouse chamber drama where you are just in with these four people and watch the emotionally and physically brutal things that happen between them for 2 hours, leading to a payoff that I am eager to talk about with people.
Oh, interesting.
Again, another one that I think would play very differently on a big screen than it does just on Netflix. And that's not to say that it plays worse, just differently. And I would be interested to talk to people who have seen it on a big screen.
I am really interested in this one. I've heard great things. I think it premiered at, was it Sundance it originally premiered at?
Something like that. I know there's been buzz on it for a while.
Yeah. And as soon as people saw it, they flipped for it. So I'm really excited. This will definitely be a catch up for me over the holidays. And I think that brings us to all the episodes we wanted to discuss. Are you planning to watch anything over the holidays?
Oh, I'm sure. We spend Christmas Day is a movie day for the family.
Do you guys have set ones?
Food.
Okay.
No. So our set watch, we usually watch new stuff Christmas Day. That's okay. What we've done. But leading up to Christmas, yes, I can guarantee you that Miracle on 34th Street will be watched in my house on Christmas Eve, and I can guarantee you that Love Actually will be watched in my house no earlier than December 23rd. I can't believe my youngest Tess, who is the most enthusiastic Christmaser in the family, will absolutely watch Elf. She will absolutely watch the Phineas and Ferb Christmas special. She's a big fan of that. And I will undoubtedly, at some point, as I do every year, find an hour in which everyone is asleep or out of the house. And I will enjoy for the, I don't know how many year in a row, a very Murray Christmas. Because I think that's an outstanding hour of television.
I do love A Very Murray Christmas. That one's good. And we'll, of course, do It's a Wonderful Life, probably on the 23rd or something. And that's usually our closer. And then, I will abandon everyone and spend the week watching new movies that they can't watch with me. It'll be great.
I will tell you what I am eager. It's not necessarily Christmassy, but I'm very excited about this. And I can talk about it now before it's happened, because this is going to show up after it's already happened.
Yes.
So just between you and our listeners, my youngest gets home from college, her first semester of college, December 16th. And the next night, I am taking her and her sister to the Michigan Theater because they are showing Harold and Maude at 10 o'clock. And Tess has never seen it, and Emma and I both adore it. And so I am super excited to get to see that movie. I don't know if I've ever seen that movie on a big screen. I think I did when I was in college, but it's a movie I utterly adore. And it's really the one film, the only person when we did our films of the 70s series that we didn't get to was Hal Ashby. We should have done at least one Hal Ashby film.
Yeah.
So we did. No, we didn't. We didn't talk about Shampoo. We talked around Shampoo. I think. We've
talked about Shampoo in the past, but not an episode.
Harold Maude is still a glorious experience, and so I'm looking forward to that very much. That's a Christmas tradition, but it will forever be locked in there with Christmas memories for me after having that experience, I'm sure.
Oh, that'll be great. That's a great movie. I love Harold and Maude.
Yes, it is.
I not as great, but I'm still looking forward to it. My son and I will do Spider-Man No Way Home on opening night on IMAX. That is our Marvel tradition.
You could watch that and then go home and watch Power of the Dog and have your own Benedict Cumberbatch double feature.
That sounds like a plan. I think I might do that. Well, Perry, I hope you have a Merry Christmas.
I hope you do as well, Chris.
I hope our listeners have a very happy holiday season. We are going to be back in early January. We have something really interesting and special in the works. We have I don't want to spoil it totally, but I will say there's a pretty big TV show thing that dropped recently. And I think we're going to need some help to talk about it. So,
if I'm going to be the Paul to your John, we need a George and a Ringo.
Absolutely. So, we're going to have something special coming in January. I'm really excited about doing this. And then we will get back to, I totally blanked on this.
Robert Altman.
Thank you. Good Lord. And then we will get back to Robert Altman. We're gonna have some fun stuff in store for 2022. But in the meantime, Perry, where can people find you?
You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter at Perry Loves Film. You can hear me every Friday on the Lucy Ann Lance Show on WLBY in Ann Arbor. And you can probably, find me passed out under just an obnoxious mountain of wrapping paper Christmas morning.
You can find me at criticisms.substack.com. I'll put the link in the show notes. That is my newsletter that by the time this releases, I'm probably going to take 2 weeks off. But that gives you a lot of time to go through the backlog of Christmas stuff, franchise stuff, new stuff. There's a whole lot of good stuff there, and it's all free for you right now. And I don't know how long that freeness is going to last. So look it up all now and then give me a subscribe if you like that. It is on. You can also find me on Twitter at Mere Christianity, and I'm on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook at Criticisms. And we will see you back here in the new year.
Peace and love, everybody.